Hello and welcome to another episode of Zero Deliberations. We're your hosts, Trevor and Zach, and today we are asking the question, does art need a meaning? Alright, so Zach, I will be taking the side of
Art
it does
doesn't
not
need a meaning.
it don't need
Okay.
shit. You'll be taking the side of it does indeed.
I
So
believe it does.
what are your opening statements?
All right. So when I just ask myself the question, does art need a meaning, or does creativity need a meaning? That's kind of how I rephrase it. And I say inherently yes, because even if you don't realize what you're doing, I still think that you're meaning to do something. So it might be that you don't realize what you're meaning to do, but you're still doing the thing.
But the idea of meaning, okay, let's
right.
get the
what
semantics
is the
out of
idea
let's get the
of
semantics
meaning?
out of the way. Meaning as in purposeful meaning. You mean to do this purposefully, not it has a meaning.
Because
that
like,
it means
what
something.
What happens if you? Let's take the example of the guy that found out the microwave. Okay, my dad was just talking to me about this. It's like he was just experimenting with the technology of microwaves, and then he thought to himself, "Wow, this coupled with a different technology that exists
Could make a fine
could,
burrito.
yeah, like could warm up our food and drinks really well." So, but he didn't mean to go in there that day and discover the prototype of a microwave or whatever. But I would argue that he still meant to, because he like had the wherewithal or the ability to put those things together and make sense of it, to make a creative decision or make a creative outcome
Well,
happen.
he meant to figure out what microwaves could be used for. He found out, hey, it could be used to fucking make some nachos or some shit, you know?
But I don't know if he was like, yeah, like I don't know if he was looking to create, I don't know what you call a microwave, I guess.
Because motherfuckers don't just play with microwaves like they do action
Yeah.
figures. So, like, he was looking for something
To utilize it
yeah,
in
to
some
utilize
way.
the microwaves. Therefore,
But is that
was,
meaning, like, did he mean to make the microwave then?
Well, no, but he purposely went into it to make something that uses the microwaves. If I set out to, I want to make art that inspires somebody to a cause.
Yeah.
And I sit down, and my initial thought is I'm going to write a song.
Right.
But I didn't end up writing a song. Instead, I ended up fucking
Writing
a
a
story,
story.
or writing a poem, or whatever the fuck it might be instead. And then it's like, it still accomplishes that goal. It still has that meaning that I purposely put into it. But if I didn't sit down to make something
But what
for
if-
this meaning,
Yeah, like what if all that happened right there that you just described, but you didn't, you think from your perspective, I didn't mean for any of that to happen. Like, it still happened though. Like, it still happened even if you don't realize that it happened. Like,
I mean, do you just wake up and be like, oh, fuck, dude, I composed an entire song last night?
no, you don't.
Because you purposefully need to mean to do such a thing.
Yeah. But, like, okay, you can do things and not realize the full repercussions or consequences of what you're doing. Like, somebody runs the stop sign and hits you, they'd be like, I didn't mean to do that, but you still did it, right? Like,
So let's erase the word meaning. Let's use, does it need a message?
a message.
That's more so what I mean
Well,
by
here,
meaning.
okay, so this is the interesting thing with that, and for me, like, where I went, it's like, let's say with music, for example, doesn't it often get lost, or the original meaning gets, yeah, essentially just gets lost, where people have, it takes on their own meaning, or the individual puts the meaning to it, where how are they supposed to know?
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, if you will.
Type shit. Like, how are they supposed to know what the original meaning was unless it's very clearly stated or upfront? You know, like, maybe you don't know what the meaning of Star Wars is, or you don't know what the meaning of this album is, or whatever, but there was an original meaning. There was an idea behind what this symbolizes or is emblematic of, or whatever. Like, what's the meaning behind it? The creator might have had an intention, but does that translate to every individual, or is the individual always interpreting it?
Well, if I say,
like, do they recognize the intended meaning?
Let's use the example of what just happened here. Okay, I said, what is the meaning of art? And you took meaning as in the another definition of meaning than message. It's the same kind of thing where you could literally just misinterpret it, but does that mean I still had a point in saying what I said, therefore there was still a point behind that art?
Yeah.
Do you believe that there always is a point behind that art?
Yeah, like, even if it's not realized, like, because you're put, like, you're not, even if you're not thinking about how this might react with people, like, it's still going, like, a reaction will be made regardless. Like, you're meaning to put out that shit, put out whatever it is you're putting out, like, together. I don't know, like, but okay, there's like the true meaning and then the perceived meaning. So which one are we talking about? The true meaning, like, in the sense of what the creator says it means?
Does the creator have to go into creating something with a message in mind? Can you make a movie, for instance? Hold on. Let me make sure the dog didn't just bump this camera. Let me re-ask that one sec. Cut this out.
I think it's more...
Sasuke. All right, let me ask that again. Say you were making a movie. Do you need to have a message? Does that movie need to have a message? Like,
okay, my thing is, even if it has a message, what guarantees that everybody gets that message? Like,
but does it need to have one initially to even be created from the start?
To even for people to extrapolate some sort of message from it, like to extract
for people to enjoy it, let's say, even.
Yeah. It's like it can be,
even if it's misconstrued.
Yeah, like, it can be chaotic and random, in my opinion. Like, you can look at, let's draw a parallel with music. Like, you know, death metal, punk rock, what people would just perceive normal music listeners as, like, this is just chaos. I don't like this. But it still, like, translates to a certain amount or variety of people. So, like, I don't know. It's like it can be completely chaotic and still have meaning to it, at least, but that's perceived meaning, right? What I'm describing right there.
Yeah.
That's what the true meaning is for what I believe is for the people putting it out, for it to resonate with people. And then evidently if it exists with, like, shows and crowds and ticket sales or album sales, then it's, like, resonating with people and the meaning is being fulfilled.
So that level of resonation, you're saying it could be as little as...
Does the perceived meaning line up with the true meaning?
Like, does it need to have... Because normally when people say, like, oh, this show has a message, it has a meaning.
Yeah.
They usually mean it has something kind of inspiring, hopeful. It has
a lesson to it.
A lesson to it, yes. Do you believe that...
It needs to have that.
Yes, does it need to have a lesson to it as a message?
No.
No.
I say no in that sense because of our individual ability to give meaning to shit, the perceived meaning, then maybe that is, like, enough. Like, you don't need to know the original meaning, even if it comes from a place of meaning, whether it does or not. You don't need to know that if you give it new meaning. Like, it just needed to inspire that individual enough to give it new meaning. Like, and that could be the true meaning, the intended meaning, or it can be their perceived one that they get from that thing, right? That's I can't really argue with that. Like, if they, so I agree. I would take the stance that it doesn't need a true initial meaning. I think that a lot of fucking shit is good when it has that, but
It's not required
it's
to
not
have good.
required. No, like I that's my belief anyway. I could be wrong though.
I mean, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, if
Yeah,
you will. So,
and that is true. But if that beauty is like good or not is up to the rest of the beholders and shit like that. Like,
so for broader society, um, you want stories to inspire
right,
people.
right. How you do that without meaning?
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
That's where the
Well,
argument of
it's
for
interesting
it.
because like when I watch like shit about anime, for example, some people really like analyzing the deeper meaning of that shit. Like I find it interesting, but there's other people that it has a meaning to them that is fulfilling enough, and they don't care about all that deeper shit
Well, what if
about
it
it.
still resonates with you without you realizing the deeper meaning? I mean, I always.
That's what I'm saying. Like it does for a lot of people. Like they don't get the deeper meaning, but it.
But the initial person creating it had that deeper meaning, and
Yeah,
they wanted to convey it in a way that would be understood by the most people.
agreed.
So it needed to have a meaning from the jump.
But I would argue that there might. Well, it's interesting because, like we've talked about, a lot of these things follow a similar series of tropes or ideas and stuff like that,
Yes.
and that's for a reason and shit. It's for the lesson. It's for the creative, I guess.
Well, also some are just because it resonates with people more.
Yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to say. Like the resonant, like the creative resonance with people. Like if you're gonna tackle something like that, a show, a story, then you gotta like include these things. Like that's kind of how I understand it. But at the same time,
We
I
need to
would
look at it too.
I would believe
For
that there's stories like look at freaking Adventure Time. That's kind of like yeah, there's like classic tropes in there, but there's also like random, really random chaos that is probably artistically and the least inspiring for some people, and that could launch them into a whole direction in their life or career or interests or whatever that they don't recognize that deeper initial
well,
meaning or
with those
whatever.
though, a lot of I feel like what you're describing is
Like
world
whimsical or
building,
yeah,
not plot centric.
yeah, like
So
details and shit like that. Yeah,
yeah, so it
there's still a core meaning there.
yeah in the plot itself because that's the main part of the art. Whereas the world building is just the world that surrounds it, if you will. Trying to think of how that would exactly relate to music, but music's a much different field. But because I feel like all things are kind of essential for it, and I mean, I guess you could make the argument that plot and world building do go together. You need to have a world around it. But
It's interesting. Like, okay, so my other point was that because that's a lot of what we consume is like the stuff with these common like tropes and ideas. Is there other media that is successful or resonant with people that doesn't have like that is just completely like doesn't have that deeper meaning and stuff? I think that there is. I don't know. Like they might not be as big.
see, I think too, like because as you said, there's certain tropes. Some people follow them because this is what writers do. This is how you tell a story or
It's like
something,
it's the beaten
and
path.
that it still ends up telling that same story, but they don't realize the importance of it. There could
Yeah.
be those cases, sure, but do you believe a story could exist? Do you believe a song could exist? Do you believe a painting, a work of art could exist without
A
there being
true intention.
yeah, without there being an intention, without there being something for it to convey, to share, to spread? other than the literal
Like,
piece itself.
like if we're calling it like, did we say like a deeper meaning? Because like,
Yeah.
I don't, I don't think there has to be a deeper meaning. There just has to be enough meaning to make the shit happen. Like that's my kind of stance on it. Like there
It's
has to
like,
be.
say you're just bored and chopped one day and you're just like, oh, I want to fucking paint. And you paint some picture, you end up getting in your local art museum. People are like, oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't paint it as in,
I'm
I want this
I'm
to
trying to get this shit
invoke
in the
people. I'm trying
yeah
to get it in that, or I want to inspire people that art can be whatever your mind and that.
yeah
No, it's just fucking. I was scribbling and it ended up looking kind of cool.
yeah. That's where I mean like going into that you didn't realize what you could do, like what that could become, but it became that. So it's like you're just like I don't want to say you're just
But even so, when
unrealized.
they decided to, hit up the art museum and try to see if they could get in, they were just like, picture's cool as fuck. I just kind of want to show people. It wasn't like I
Yeah,
want to inspire people still. Um,
but it meant enough for you to like take that step right there. Like then that's like meaning, like you meant to do that. It, and like it's weird because I made a note like with math, right? I know it's like maybe it's not connected, whatever, but I like to think that esoterically this shit could be connected because it's like in math, the mean is when you take some, and get the average of the outcome of some of this, some of that, some of that. It's like that's the same thing. Meaning is taking some of this, taking some of that, and like combining your will, and like that's giving it meaning. Like, but deeper meaning is like another thing. I think like just taking action is meaningful, but
yeah, see, your argument is what I mean by meaning is deep meaning. Does art
right
need a deep meaning?
and that's that I would have to take the argument of no, because a lot of times I've understood it that stuff just happens, like, and it does just happen. We know that, but like, what I mean is that, like, I think of music or whatever, where like you just write a riff one day, make a part one day, sit down with your boys and jam, and then something happens, and then that turns into a hit song, or that turns into a cool song and
Well,
shit.
the lyrics are what makes it a hit. I mean, I guess if you want to take it with music, um, this is no like slight to instrumental music because I fucking love instrumental
I
music.
feel, I feel.
But
It's like it's
the
missing something.
no. The vocals, if you will, are the plot, whereas the music around it is the world building. At least that's how most people would perceive it.
Yeah.
It's like you could have the story of Lord of the Rings without, this huge fucking world Tolkien built, but having that world adds so much more to the story around, and that's the vocals will tell you the plot of whatever it is you're following, and the music around it will help invoke that feeling further.
But what if the
So you could say that that's the same as world building and adding stuff onto it.
right? What if the meaning doesn't get like carried over though? Like I don't know. What if they went into that creative session wanting to make a banger song, but they didn't mean to like for it to like they didn't know that was gonna be the one. They didn't know that was gonna
They wanted to
resonate
make a
with
banger. They
people.
ended up making a fucking depressing ass song, but that ended up popping off anyways.
Type shit or whatever. Like like unexpected hit type shit, which happens. It's like I feel like sometimes your will is all it takes, even to have that deeper meaning. Like because it's just it's about how. What if you make something that really like, how everybody says like this song saved my life or this
Yeah.
band saved my life. Clearly, those people saved their own life, but like, what are they trying to describe right there? That like that shit helped them, or like it helped them cope with their reality and shit like that.
The meaning of the music hit them and inspired them, if you will.
Yeah, but like, what if they didn't mean for it to save all those people, quote unquote? It's like that's real interesting. It's like sometimes your will is all it takes to to even have that deeper meaning, I would say, because like you said, they might use all those tropes just because that's what people do. They understand that part, but
Yeah.
they
We
don't.
got to have a breakdown at this part because that's what bands do, type shit.
Yeah, but they're not even realizing like how good that is. That like how, I don't know, how instrumental that is in uh
Conveying the
yeah,
message, if you will.
exactly getting the point across and shit. Yeah. So
Invoking a feeling.
yeah, I think we're pretty eye to eye on this shit. Like we understand that there's inherent meaning and there's individual meaning, and there's like there doesn't necessarily have to be like meaning, but there usually always is.
Yeah,
Like
intentionally or not.
yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like I see people online bitching about how there's no meaning to certain stories.
Right.
And it's like, I can't think of any specific examples because, I mean,
I
the one I
agree.
can kind of think of, I haven't fucking watched just from what I hear about, like, the Michael Bay Transformers movies of everything's kind of over the top because, oh, this would be badass if fucking this happened and that and
Like
all
they
that kind of
don't
shit.
follow like a typical
But
trope
I
and
don't
shit.
know. They might. I never
Oh,
fucking
right.
watched them.
Yeah.
I also know most of what I know too about Transformers is because people critique the. If you want to talk about designing a character, keep it simple, stupid, and then they're like all super intricate and you can't remember shit about them, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean it's always been something people critique about Michael Bay's movies is they're too explosion here, explosion there.
Yeah.
But could a deeper meaning just be, hey, this is fucking cool, this is badass, and
Exactly.
badass shit can inspire people to do
Yeah,
shit
look at
too.
Hunter S. Thompson and shit. Like,
Who?
you never. He's like a old journalist and shit, writer.
Never heard of him.
Hunter S. Thompson. Just look him up, bro. He's just like, basically, like you said, like badass shit. Like, he documented badass shit. What was the reason for that? What was the deeper meaning for that? Just because it is badass shit. Like, what did that inspire? A bunch of modern day people who are on YouTube who like reference him as an inspiration to just do like to go out and cover badass shit like the Callahan guy I was talking about earlier. Like inspired by Hunter S. Thompson. It's like interesting how it branches off because of meaning. Like he's like I care he would do crazy shit, go with crazy people, I guess perceivably because
Yeah, well, so one thing it also says too is um, his highly personalized style of reporting that blurred the distinctions between writer and subject, fiction and nonfiction. So he kind of
like
he
what was real.
he seemed to be the what would it be, the head of the modern movement, if you will, of emphasizing a certain part of you for attention. Um, I feel
Like
like,
he would go out with like Hell's Angels and like cartel members
and
or
then
type shit.
you emphasize the story to make it more interesting to people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
instead
like
of it just being actual. This is what happened. It's like,
like
so
a
this is what
yeah.
happened, but I'm gonna use a couple descriptions that make it sound way cooler than it actually was. Maybe not with fully lying. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's just
type
what I
shit.
got from the little description Google
Probably
gave me.
yeah, probably some like
I think Brave.
coloring of the events and shit like that. But you know, it's cool, bro. Like meaning is individual, but if you look I think that there's value in looking for and at the deeper meaning if it exists in the thing, and we both agree that with at least the more influential things there's usually always a deeper meaning there to like perceive,
Yeah.
to
Well,
find, connect
yeah,
with.
that is given, intentionally or non intentionally. Sometimes, you'll sit down to write a song because you're feeling an emotion. That is the meaning, then, if you will, to convey,
Right.
to express. And all art is an expression, therefore, it always will have a meaning. But does it need to inspire?
And does it always need to come across? Maybe not.
Because there's definitely value in, having inspiring stories.
Right.
But not every story needs to be that, because if they all were that, then I feel like the meaning of the ones that are that would be lost because it's like, oh, that's fucking every story.
Exactly.
So you need diversity in your meanings.
Facts. And meaning is good. That's my stance too.
Meaning is good.
Like, you know,
in moderation.
Yeah, there can be, you can give bad meaning to shit too, but like at the end of the day, with bad meaning comes the opposition.
Yeah, I think if anything, bad meaning is really good because then, I think I made this argument. I don't remember to whomst, but the concept of having your ideas written down in a more formal manner
Right.
makes it easier for people to rebut them. So you can make a story with this greater meaning, and then somebody's gonna be like, "Fuck that guy," and they can either voice it or they can write a story that has the message that they think is correct, and then
Right.
you get more art for everybody to enjoy.
Exactly. Right. It just creates like a butterfly effect, if you will, type of thing.
Yeah. So,
It's pretty sick.
got anything else you'd like to add about meaning of stuff? No, art, not stuff. Art stuff.
No, just that I found that real interesting that like to have meaning, you got to take like your will and you got to take you got to take some will, you got to take some ideas of whatever field you want to maneuver in, and then putting those together, whatever comes out is the meaning, bro. And it's like that shit.
It's hard to find
That shit's
the way
like
to put
math,
it together.
but in life. Like, yeah, and it's crazy.
It's
So
magical, bro.
yeah, like that's who made math, bro.
Probably a wizard.
For real, some ancient warlock and shit like that. All right, man.
All right.
Is that gonna do it?
I think that's it.
All right.
If you like this episode, make sure to drop a like.
And leave a comment about whatever you think on your stance of meaning, I suppose. If you think things need to have a deeper meaning or if they just don't.
Yeah. Catch us next week, Thursdays at 6 for another episode. Subscribe if you liked it. Love you. See you then. I don't have a pen to throw this week.